out there in Facebook land, TikTok world, YouTube, everywhere. There's going to be these little clippity clips going on out there. Welcome to the show. How are y'all doing today? Coming on a little bit later, just a hair later than normal. I apologize, and my setup's a little funky. I might have to do some rearranging yet again when it comes to how I do my office a little bit. I just rearranged, and before I was able to get my legs under this section right here. But I moved a cabinet over here and all of those goody goody type things. And so I lost a little bit of room over here underneath my computer area. So I'm sitting a little funky, wonky, funky. And, you know, it is what it is with it. So I I created this. I will fix this. But hopefully you all are doing great out there. I am Monty Anderson, your host here at 412 Productions, the art of Monty Anderson. And welcome to the show. Welcome to the broadcast, everybody. We are going to talk about all kinds of different things today, from movies to artwork to motorcycles to, all the good stuff in life. Motorcycles, motorcycles, motorcycles. You got to watch twice before you take off, because there could be a motorcycle coming your way. We got the Steel Horse Rally going on here in Fort Smith, Arkansas area right now. I think they had a car show last night as well up in Greenwood. They had farmers markets going on. They had the crafters and artisans market out there at Chaffee. Had all kinds of cool stuff going on this weekend. Now, next weekend, which is the 10th and 11th, it's going to be a very, very cool one. I'm hoping to find something I'm looking for. Um, Next weekend is the Steampunk Festival in Van Buren, Arkansas, and I'm looking forward to that. I am looking for a specific item right now, and it has to be right. So hopefully somebody out there has some what I'm looking for, and I get to make a good purchase. It's for character development. It is for having everything um, working for the good of my own comic book. We would be talking about Ben Dunn's next book for Antarctic Press today, but I think I'm going to bypass that. I know a lot of people enjoy listening to that, but the thing is, I think I'm going to start doing those in their own broadcast by themselves, not going live with it, doing it straight pre-recorded, and then from there, um, just posting it out there on my channels. And if you want to watch it, you can watch it, and if you don't, hey, you don't. I totally get it. Some people don't like to sit there and listen to a review of a comic book. Now, there's other people that's what they're here for. They're here to hear that review of a comic book. So, if you're here wanting to hear some Antarctic Press today, I apologize. It's not going to happen because I'm behind. To be honest, once I started cleaning my office, everything else went to hell in a handbasket. Um, and I'm coming on a little bit later today because we had a turkey that broke its legs um, several weeks ago, and when she was still small, and today she ended up passing away. So we were trying to repair her legs, but um, she ended up passing away today, and so we had to take care of that. That's why I'm coming on a little bit later. We had a death in the family, if you will. These there's certain birds that you keep. They become your pets. Um, but then you've got those ones that you butcher. These weren't going to be butchered. These were just straight up pets. And this one was the first one that the girlfriend had picked for the homestead. And unfortunately, you do become attached to them because hey, they're going to be the ones that live out their life with you, like a pet dog. Because if you train the turkeys up, they're like a dog. They'll come running to you and all that good stuff. So if you've never had animals or birds or anything like that, you do get attached to them, even though, oh, well, it's just an animal. That's some people's attitude towards animals, in general. And we do joke around about it and things like that, about um, how it can be, Thanksgiving dinner and things like that. But no, those are just jokes, and all those jokes aside, she did end up passing away last night at some point in time, and so I had to take care of that this morning. Um, well, like I said, we were trying to fix her legs. We got some new splints in that were specifically um, designed for her legs, per se, uh, and we were trying to correct one leg that kept going backwards. Because like I said, they got broken by a little heat lamp that fell on top of her at an early age, and her quality of life was just shit. She would nub around on the elbows instead of trying to walk like normal bird. She was trying to walk on her elbows, and then this leg would flip backwards, so it was actually trailing behind her as she's trying to walk. So she was using her wings more than anything else. But that those are things that we have to deal with here on the homestead that other people don't have to deal with. um, I think we've lost now a total of, what is it, 6 birds, you know, and and this just things that happen. Those you don't want it to happen, but those things just happen. We lost one to a hawk, and the other ones have just been random deaths. That happen, and that's stuff that you deal with as a homesteader. Death will happen with your animals, and you just have to take it, as it comes. And I take it in stride and keep going. Okay, we lost a bird. Let's get 2 more birds to replace it. Those type of things. We've got I think 8 eggs in the incubator this time instead of 40 like we had last time, and we only had one of those eggs that actually had an embryo inside of it that went to nearly full term, and I don't know why it didn't hatch, um, but it didn't. You know, and again, those things happen. You learn as you go. There's not a specific written book that people can give you, and I know you would say you can go find one of those. I mean, you can, but there's not a specific written book that works 100% for everybody. Everybody does their own thing, because I've talked to 3 or 4 different people that incubate the eggs, and they have a 99% hatch rate. You know, so far I'm a 0% hatch rate on 40 eggs. This is our second attempt, so hopefully we get a better turnout this time. We're using 8 eggs this time instead of 40. And we're using just chicken eggs and not chicken and duck eggs. I need to get a second incubator, all that good stuff. Um, because your incubation rate is totally different for eggs and chickens. But a lot of people don't want to know that. I just want the ducks for Easter. I want the chickens for Easter. Well, Easter has passed there, buddy. I saw about a week after Easter, we were driving somewhere. Uh, it might have been to Ozark, just somewhere back there. But anyway, um, some family was doing an Easter egg hunt again. Maybe they missed it on Easter. Maybe everybody wasn't together. Those type of things. But you know, celebrate it whenever you want to, because Easter, you know, you've got your religious meaning for it. You've got your secular meaning for it. You got whatever you want it to be. It's just like everything in the world. You know, and that's why we don't talk about specific items here on the broadcast channel. Um, but I am almost finished with this painting for this comic book cover. I wish I could show it to you, but I can't. It's turning out really cool. I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun with it. Um, and the recipient for the comic book company that it's going to is appreciative of it too. They're liking what they're seeing, and I've got some more fine details to do, and then it will be off to them, and hopefully $1 million in sales will ensue for the sake of both of us, because once this reaches a certain point and sells like hotcakes, so I'm going to need you guys to pick up a copy of it in PDF form. Everybody, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, go pick it up in PDF form and make this thing go out the door like hotcakes. Because once that is done, then I can get physical copies of this. You know, and that's the main goal, is to get a physical copy of this. This will be my second professional comic book cover um, out there in the world, as far as on an actual comic book. So get her done. Get her done. So how are you all doing out there? Seriously, how are you guys doing? How you feeling? How's your heads? How's your hearts? How's your emotions? Are they in check? I got pretty pissed off last night. I'm not gonna lie. I was super angry last night. We went down to Still Horse Rally later in the evening. Walked around. It was much bigger than it was last year when we were there. Now we went Friday. Now maybe not everybody had arrived yet, but definitely last year the bikes were 2.5 blocks long, maybe. And this time it went from the bridge towards Roland, Oklahoma, all the way back to Immaculate Conception. And if you know that street, it's a, I'm not sure if it's actually over a mile or not, but it's a long stretch. You know, you got several blocks in there. I can't tell you the exact number of blocks, but we walked it all. And there was bikes from one end all the way to the other. And if you've ever been to Fort Smith, Arkansas, you would know what I'm talking about. But it was just bike after bike after bike after bike, and it wasn't just all Harley Davidson. You had Victories, you had Indians, you had um, Kawasaki's, Hondas, crotch rockets, rat rods. There was one that was a Victory that had Prince, the singer, all over it, and or the actor, however you want to put it, or the Jehovah's Witness, whichever way you want to go. But it was pretty cool. And then there was another one just down the way from him that that was a military theme, but it was like a zombie apocalypse military type thing. You had dudes in gas masks. You had skeletons with military helmets on, K-pots, if you will. And it was just very super cool to see all the different bikes, to see all the different paint jobs, to you know see the women riding, see the men riding, see kids on the back of the bikes, all kinds of, and they would give rides because they were doing a full loop around Garrison Avenue as it happens from one end to the other. And periodically they would stop, let somebody off, and somebody else would get on the bike, and they would go do a lap again, do a couple laps, and it's very cool. I mean, it's nothing like Sturgis, it's nothing like any of your big bike rallies, but it is growing, and it's been happening for quite a while here in Fort Smith, Arkansas area. Now, it's not like Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue up and a lot of people have heard of that, which is up in Fayetteville on Dixon Street and all that good stuff. And Dixon Street is just one of those hard streets, and we were talking about it on the way home last night. It's just Dixon Street is one of those hard streets to actually do a bike rally at, because the streets are narrow, and you don't have the, you've got ups and downs on that street, and makes it very difficult to get your motorcycle up and going, to speed. But they'll give it a shot. But that being said, we did a thing yesterday. So the girlfriend's had a bike for a while. Hers is a 82, 81 or 82 Kawasaki, and we saw one yesterday, or day before yesterday. We hit the people up on Facebook Marketplace, of course, and where everything is bought and sold now. Went and looked at it and was like, "Wow, this thing's pretty clean." needs some work, yes. But what doesn't? You know, you buy it off the marketplace. What doesn't need some work? Now, there's some things that you buy on marketplace, and boom, it's ready to go, all that good stuff. Looked it over, had all sorts of parts in a tote. Had a big front windshield piece for it as well. And it was just like, "You sure you're good on this price?" You know. And they were like, "Yeah." So I'm looking it over, looking at the wiring, looking at the gas tank. Okay, we'll take it. So I now am the proud owner of a 1978 Honda Goldwing GL 1000. If you don't know what that means, that's 1,000 horsepower between your legs. Okay. It is a super heavy bike. Uh, it's going to take a little bit of work. Going to make sure that once we get a battery and all that good stuff, put some gas in the tank and all that good stuff, that it works like it's supposed to. We're going to clean the carburetor. We're going to do all kinds of stuff, get new spark plugs, all those good things. But now we both have a bike. Now we're both going to be working on bikes together, um, and customize it the way we want. I'm not too keen on the burgundy and gold, you know, but that's what it came with. It came with the burgundy and gold. I'm debating, and just looking at it, we're debating on reattaching the front aesthetic piece to it, if you will. I don't know if you remember Chips, the old TV show back in the day, and then it turned into a movie. And then I think they tried to do it as a TV series again. I'm not 100% sure on that one, but they did make a movie out of it. And those old style motorcycles that had the this front look that came to the headlight and then came back and then it kind of curved back around. I don't know if anybody remembers those, but then it had the windshield on it. Well, they had taken that off for whatever reason, and that's where your speakers for your stereo are, and then the stereo slot right there. It had all the wiring and all that stuff, but he included that with it. And I don't know if we're putting that back on or not just yet. Just because the bike looks cool without it. The bike is already heavy enough. I mean, it's not that this little piece is going to add a ton more weight to it, but it's also just one of those things that do you really need that 100%? And some people will say, well, yeah, you need that. Keeps the bugs out of your face. No, that's what a helmet's for. Um, Depending on what kind of helmet you get. We saw some pretty sweet ones last night, though, at the Steel Horse Rally. Now, let's get back to the pissed off part. So, we walked around. We walked the entire strip last night, and um, looked at a few things. Looked at all the booths that were around. Uh, got to the end, and we were like, "Hey, I know, I know your feet are probably hurting because of the shoes she wore." And so it's like, we can sit down somewhere. And she's like, "Okay, good, because my feet are killing me." And I said, "Okay, cool." So we went into a little rib room, barbecue joint called Newmeyer's Rib Room here in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Those of you that are in the area know what I'm talking about. And so it's like, get in there. We sit outside. They got a band playing. They're decent. And we sat there for a good 8 to 10 minutes. And it's not even super busy. 100%. It's not packed out. It's not standing room only. It's not, anything like that. We're sitting right by the doors to the inside to the outside. So you are getting looked at by everybody when they're coming in and out those doors. It took 10, almost 15 minutes before we got a server to come to the table. Well, we get our order started, waters, with some what they call street corn, or street corn bites, which is just some kind of a mixture that's batter dipped, and they throw it and fry it, deep fat fry it for you, and bring it with some ranch. Well, it was almost overcooked on those. Because normally it has a golden brown on the batter. This was a dark, dark brown. That was the first part. Second part, after that, it took our now server, who's taking care of us now, another 20 minutes to come take our order. So we'd been sitting there. We'd already chit chatted, looked at the menu, asked what we were going to get, talked some more. And another 5 or 6 minutes goes by. And finally, he shows up to take the order. And so now we've been there for almost an hour before the order was even taken. You know, the main order. Yeah, we got our appetizer in. We got our drinks finally. And so we're sitting there, and probably another 20 minutes go by, maybe 30. We see food coming out. It's not ours. It's a table that was here before us, finally getting their food. And it's being brought by other people. It's not even being brought by the server. Now, the girlfriend made mention that she saw the server coming from basically the break smoke area back there. And I don't even know what you're talking about there, James. But anyway. And so they're getting their order finally, and they've been there longer than we have. And you know, it's getting a little nuts because, like I said, the place isn't packed out. There's plenty of seats available, inside and outside. I know it's busy because of the Steel Horse Rally, but it's not super busy, you know. And so we're still waiting, and finally, I would say 30, 40 minutes later, we finally get our food that we ordered, you know. And so we start eating it, and we notice that the potato is super dark. It's almost black, which is unusual, yet again. Because what we ordered was spicy sausage, uh, barbecue, baked potato, and they do it twice baked, but this looked like it was 4 times baked. You know, so I cut a piece off, chewed on it like boot leather almost, and it was like, wow, this is a little nuts. So we eat. We're done. He finally comes back, which is at this point in time. I think we got there at because it was still daylight outside, so it was probably closer to 7:20 when we got there, 7:30 somewhere in that range. And by the time it was all said and done, as I was looking at my watch, from the moment he finally took the food off the table, we only got one refill on drinks that we had, which was just water. From the time he took the food off the table, it was nearly 30 minutes before we got up and walked inside and said, "Hey, I'd like to pay my ticket and leave here." So about 7:20, 7:30 is when we arrived. 9:40 is when we left. Needless to say, this is why I'm unemployable, because prone to violence. I was super pissed off. The band had played their entire set before we left. Yeah, it was not a happy camper last night. The Steel Horse Rally was good. Again, walking around, seeing everything that was there, seeing all the goods and services that were provided for us. It was pretty awesome. And It's like, why did it take so long? He wasn't very attentive to our table. He wasn't very attentive to several other tables either. We had to ask another waitress for silverware and napkins, you know, and it's just like, wow, that was one of the worst experiences we've ever had there at that establishment. And we like eating there. And but just last night was, I don't know what was going on. I mean, I know the Steel Horse Rally was going on, but again, it was not that busy. It wasn't that packed out, and it was just like, wow, I don't know what's going on with you. I don't know if it's just a dude that was having problems or whatever. And I left him a tip, but it wasn't as good as what he could have gotten. I didn't shortchange him, by any means, but it's just like, you weren't very attentive. You did one drink refill, and that was to my glass, not even to the girlfriend's glass. You hardly spoke to us all night long. You hardly spoke to any of your other tables all night long. You were more attentive to certain tables, you know, but it was just like, wow, they usually have better service than this, no matter what's going on. And I've seen it much busier than this and still, you know, um, have great service. So I don't know what was going on. That's my rant on the angry side coming out last night. And hold on. So, like I was saying, I was rearranging my office. I've got things almost 1000% put away. Um, I'm putting a top on this little table. It's right here in between my legs. And I'm going to put a tabletop on it just so that I have a solid little piece right here. Um, but I have a little bit more room than I did. I put the comic books at the other end of the office underneath my desk over there, whereas they were sitting right here, right next to me. So now you guys can see my refrigerator right here with all of my horror stickers right there on it, and those type of goody good things. Um, I ordered a couple new parts for my 3D printer because I'm afraid that one of my pieces is screwed up beyond repair. But I am making sure of that by getting a new membrane brought in, and then I got some new resin in. So I'm having fun with it, but it's just not doing everything I want it to do just yet. Um, and that's probably because I could have fucked up my vat that holds the resin in it. And if doing that, because it's all cloudy now and shit like that, because there's supposed to be a protective film over the top of that. So we will see if that's the problem. It should be in the next few days, sometime next week, close to the weekend. And I'm still going to print because I'm still going to keep it going because I want some print time in it on that 3D printer. But welcome to the show, everybody. I am Monty Anderson, your host here at 412 Productions. Welcome to the broadcast. And like I said, we're coming on a little bit later than normal because we had a death in the family with our bird, with our turkey, who had ended up breaking her legs. But she ended up passing away sometime last night or early this morning. We're not 100% sure when she did pass, but she did pass. So I had to deal with that this morning. I will be burying her later on today. It's not like a goldfish that you can flush down the toilet. All those good things. We have an actual pet cemetery right now for all these birds. And that have passed. And she's going to go over there with the rest of them once daylight hits and I can see what I'm doing. I don't want to dig up some other birds already that are in the holes. But again, that's part of the homestead. So once I am done with the three pieces that are in front of me right now, two logo works and this comic book cover. This comic book cover, I've got to get done today because he's releasing it tomorrow. So I'm going to need you guys to pick it up in PDF form. And hopefully you enjoy it as much as I have enjoyed working on it. I think it looks cool. Um, I've got a lot of details that I'm still adding into it, but we will get there with that. But yeah, no, I'm liking it. I'm digging it. There's action to it. I've still got some elements to put on it that were not drawn on the piece, so that's going to be fun to put those down and to go that route. So hopefully you guys enjoy it when it does roll out for us, and we get to make this thing a 100% reality. You know, because these are the things, these are the dreams that you want for yourself, is to be on comic book covers, to be on multiple comic book covers. But like I was talking to, and it's been a year or so since I talked to Dan Kemp. Whenever I keep in touch, but it's not like we chit chat every day. He's a colorist in the industry, and when I say he's in the industry, I mean he works for like Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, Greg Capullo, Jolly. The list goes on and on for the people he's colored for, him and his brother at Kemp Studios. And with that, um, he basically told me, don't chase the cover. The covers will be there, but just don't chase them. Because if you chase them, that's where your efforts are going to be at, is just in that one aspect, to chase a comic book cover. He said, had he done things differently, he would have just worked on his own comic book with whoever. And that's where he would have been. But with that being said, too, chasing the other avenue of coloring other people's work has got him to where he is in their studio now, working with the industry greats in Marvel, in DC. That's DC Comics, not DC the state. In Image Comics, in Independent Comics. And so, but again, he said hindsight 2020, had he done it again, he would have worked on his own projects, and I totally understand that. And so we had a good heart to heart that day. And because I told him what I was envisioning, for the future. And I told him that I did have a comic book in the works, and at that point in time I hadn't even started writing any of it. Hadn't even come up with a title for it yet. And so, we chit chatted for probably a good hour and a half, almost 2 hours, on Messenger. And and it was just a good talk, because he's, like I said, he's in the industry, and he's also, very conscious of people's works as well. And that's what he said with mine whenever he colored my um, cover to Psycho Style #3. He was like, don't ever change your style that you've got. He goes, because I work in the industry. And he didn't tell me that, but because I already knew that. He's like, but I have never seen this style anywhere. With all the people he's worked with, all the greats that he's worked with, he's never seen my style, out there for what I do, for my shadowing and all that good stuff. He's like, never change that 100%. I said, don't worry, that's never going away, because that is kind of a signature style for me. And so it works for me, you know. Just like Ken Hunt, great artist out there. He's got a specific style that he does, especially whenever he does his shadow work and things like that. And it's phenomenal. If you don't know, go look up Ken Hunt, the artist out there. He's got tons of work under his belt. Excuse me. And he's also working on his own comic book as well right now. So it's a dark horror comic book. And right now, I've got my comic book in the works. I've got, yes, this is a woman in noodles. Her butt's in the air with panties on, with chopsticks over her butt. Um, then I've got the movie producer work that I'm working on with that movie producer, Jason Pitts, for a horror western comic book that we're going to do together. And then I've got the guy that I'm doing the logos for. He's wanting to do a book with me. And then I've got another potential with a guy that's already got a comic book in production right now. And so things are looking up. I mean, 100%. I'm about to order some first ever canvas prints for our studio for 412 Productions. These will be things that we take with us to shows because we're wanting to change up our formats of just what we sell. We're going to have 11 by 17s available of our print work, but we're also going to have different size canvases of our work as well. That way, if you want a canvas, but you don't want the original canvas at its price, like take my Chester Bennington, $500 for him, fully painted, awesome work, and a lot of people love it. But when it comes to the price, they're like, I wish I would have brought more money, or this, that, or the other. Well, now you can get a canvas print of that same work. It'll be different, of course, just a hair. The colorization will be different, those type of things. But you'll be able to get that and take it home with you for a fraction of the cost. Say you get a 16 by 20 canvas of that, a print version, for 150 instead of the $500 that the painting cost. You know, so now you can take it home easier and not have to gripe about, oh, I didn't bring enough money, or I didn't bring enough money, but I just bought this $300 sword. So, which we see happen all the time, and it's fine. I mean, I know what you specifically came to the comic book show for. You came for a specific item. You were hoping that specific item was there. You didn't happenstance that, oh my god, I love your artwork, and then you buy a sticker, those type of things. But that's fine. Money's money when it comes in. I don't mind. But just don't lie to me when it comes to, well, I really came here for this one item. Just be honest. And that's where the world lacks in things. A lot of people just aren't honest with what they're doing. You know, I came to this comic book show because I wanted to get these guys' autographs. I didn't come to buy artwork specific, but I do love your artwork. And if I have something left over, I will be back to purchase this. You know, it's just like, and this isn't talking about just like, this is like when I was selling stuff on here, and it wasn't per se selling stuff. It was just talking about my artwork. Had a person approach me. His piece is sitting off to the side, waiting for his payment, and I know it's going to happen because he's got super busy, and it's just like I'm supposed to have this comic book cover done because I've been super busy for this weekend, um, and we're entertaining at noon today as well. So I've got all this time to work on this until that point in time, but I've also got to make the meal for, this entertainment that we are doing at noon. And it's not like it's a super thing. It's just a cool friend of ours that's coming over. But and we've been doing a little bit more things with him here lately. And because that's what you do when you have friends. You entertain, you know. And so that takes me away from doing certain things. And maybe he'll be a guest on here one day. You know, there's no telling um, what all could happen. You know, but anything is possible. But he's been on the show many, many times, Mr. Roy Joe Twilight Bradley Jr. Because why do I put that in there? Because he loves Twilight like nobody else. I think he loves it more than my girlfriend does, but she can't watch it around me because I make fun of it. I hate the show. I hate the books. Vampires do not sparkle in the sun. They explode into flame. Get blood, guts, and everywhere. All that good stuff. That's why I can't stand Twilight. Sparkly vampires, sparkly vampires. Oh my goodness, look at them sparkly vampires in their Louis Vuittons and their whatever else they wear. But no, I can't do Twilight. No. It's my kids drug me to see the first one, and I was dying laughing during the whole. Why don't you show yourself in the sun? All that good stuff. Because this is what we look like. And I died. I died. I literally died laughing. And my kids were trying to get me to shut up, and I said, "No, no, this is wrong. Vampires do not sparkle in the sun. Vampires blow up, turn into dust. Goo goes everywhere." And so it was just like, no. And so I just couldn't take the franchise seriously after that. Once I saw that, and this was a theater, so I took my kids to see it when they had their friends with them, and it was just like, no, no, this is ridiculous. No, God, make it stop, make it stop. So things are working out, things are lining out. Oh, we had our male pig fixed, so he'll stop humping everything. Just FYI. I know some people didn't want to know that. Oh my God, your pig is humping everything. Yeah, he's trying to hump the dogs. He's trying to hump the pig. But it's a funny thing whenever he tries to hump the pig, because our female pig is literally about 140 pounds, if I had to guess, and she's roughly the height of a dog, of our red nosed pit, who was a rescue. And so whenever he gets up on her, he's literally the size of my foot. He's about 12 inches long or so, maybe a little bit longer than that right now. But he stands about this tall. She stands this tall. So she's standing this tall. He's standing this tall. And he gets up on her and just kind of rubs himself all over her. But he can't reach anything because he's so short and she's so big. It's kind of humorous. It's quite funny. And then he tries to do it to the dog, and our female dog is like, "Who's fixed?" She's like, "No, what are you trying to do? Whoa, what are you trying to do? Whoa, what are you trying to do?" And so she's throwing him off and all that good stuff. But they play together and things like that. And then our male puppy, who is, he was born in January, February, 4 or 5 months old now. He's not having it whenever she jumps up, or whenever he jumps up on him and tries to do the same thing. And so he's kicking at him and biting at his nose and things of that nature. But again, he's just a puppy. And they're both around the same age, really, the pig and the puppy. Bruiser is his name, and Dexter is our puppy's name. So he was already named, but we love the show and waiting for the next one to Dexter Resurrection to come out. Um, because I'd watched Dexter prior to this relationship, but only an episode like here and there. Never sitting down and watching the whole series as it came out. And so she sat me down and we watched the whole series. And then we watched New Blood. And then we watched New Beginnings, or Beginnings, or whatever it's called. I can't even think of it right now. Because we haven't watched it since season one ended of his younger years. And then we watched all of You. I don't know if you've ever watched You before. YOU. You. It was an interesting series. The final series just dropped, and we're gonna get back into The Last of Us once all those drop, because we watched the first series of it. But back to You. That was an interesting series all the way around. The psychosis of it all. How he became who he was. And Joe Goldberg. And they left it open, if you will, to a sequel, to a continuation. But like they said on the ending podcast, is that we're not going to quit because there's more Joes out there. Meaning there's more people just like Joe Goldberg out there in the world that are doing the same type of thing that fixates on a person and makes them the object of their desire to the point where you kill them so nobody else can have them, basically. And that's true in today's society as well. You see it all the time on the news, in Facebook posts, in newspaper articles, and things like that, where someone, just killed somebody else because they thought they were in love with that person, and those type of things. So if you have not watched that series, go watch that series. And just like Dexter, if you haven't watched Dexter, go watch Dexter. Um, and then lead you to my all time favorite that I could watch again and again and again and again and again. And I will never get bored of it. X Files. Go watch the X Files. I hear that they were trying to put it in reboot form, but I don't know how I feel about that because they did 11 series or 11 seasons on it. It stopped at 9 originally, and then they added 2 more series or 2 more seasons X amount of years later. And the first part of season 10 was kind of campy and hokey, kind of making fun of their own franchise, if you will. But then it got more serious because it was about their son, the rest of the way out. And wow, I hadn't thought about the X Files in a long time. It's my all-time favorite. I mean, I've got X Files stuff right here. I've got the "I Want to Believe" poster sitting right here, to my right. I've got their large format cards sitting right back over here. I've got 2 figures sitting right in my office, right now on the floor, getting ready to get up on the wall. Um, and the X Files is just one of those things that it's always been one of my loves because it encompasses everything that people think don't exist, with all the cryptids and all the conspiracy theories and all that good stuff. Um, I was talking to another podcaster that's wanting to be a podcaster, and they've gone live a few times, and they are, heavy on the conspiracy theory stuff, and that's fine. Do your thing, um, but pick a time slot where you're going to get the most aptitude of viewers to view your spot. Mine used to be this time frame from anywhere between 4 to 5, whenever I would do an hour live show, and I used to be getting over 2,000 views. Right now, for some reason, I'm only getting roughly about 800 views, which is still a lot of views. And then by the end of the week, it shows that I've gotten like 6,000 views on all my videos and things of that nature, but which isn't shabby. But you want that stream to be at that 3,000 to you know 4,000 viewers on a daily basis whenever you go, or not daily, but every time you go live. You want that viewership to be up there. And that's what I was talking to him about. I was like, look, you gotta pick your time slot. You gotta pick your time slot that's going to work best for you, and you got to pick your time slot that you think you're going to have the most viewership, on that basis. Now, if you're going to go live every day, that's probably going to build up your clientele a little bit better, a little bit faster. But if you go live like I do, which is every other day, um, you know, you might be hit or miss on your clientele. And my topics range from everything except 2 topics. We talk about comic books. We talk about movies, especially if it's horror or sci-fi. We talk about my comic books, my artwork. We talk about other people's artwork. We talk about Hot Wheels. We talk about action figures. We talk about, autographed pictures. We talk about, whatever it is, we talk about it if it's in the geek realm, you know. And please like, share, and follow as well. You can also go up to my page right here, not for you guys on YouTube and Facebook, but you guys right here on TikTok. You can go up here, find my website, and you can follow all my other socials out there from Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and you're here on TikTok. So please like, share, and follow. That gets more people to view the podcast anyway, or the live show. It's not really a podcast, but it could be a podcast if we really wanted it to be, brother. You know, those type things. But no, X File has always been my jam. As soon as it came on, and I saw the very first episode, I was hooked. And you know, like I said, with season 10 and 11, season 10, the start of until I think the last 3 episodes or 4 episodes of season 10 was kind of campy and hokey, making fun of their own franchise for the most part. Um, but then it got more serious because they were on the hunt for their son. Um, and yes, Cancer Man was there. Yes, you know, all these people that were in the original series, you know, showed up in certain aspects. But you know, they talked about a reboot for it, and I just don't know how I feel about that. And that's what I hate when they start rebooting, you know, shows that were successful back in the day. It's just like, why can't you leave it alone and do something different? It's just like if they do You Part Two, don't use Joe Goldberg. Use a different person that has the same uh, mental illness that Joe does. You know, for his fascination and you know his interacting with women, um, or vice versa, a female to male, or you know however you want to see it. But you know, because like they said at the end of that is there's more Joe Goldbergs out there. You know, he's not just the only one that thinks like this or does this. So, you know, instead of rebooting it, continue it. You know, just like the Crow movies, they didn't need to try and reimagine the Crow. Um, use two different names. Don't use Shelley. Don't use Eric. Use two different names, and it's a continuation of the story of the Crow. And but no, they fucked up and used those two names. You know, trying to reimagine the whole story that James O'Barr created, which was a huge success all the way around, including the Brandon Lee version of the movie. Yes, there were some aspects that were changed from the book to the movie, which is understandable because when him and Shelley get killed, they are actually broken down on the side of the road when T Bird and the crew roll up on them instead of in the apartment trying to get evicted or getting evicted from their apartment, you know, in the movie. But I get it. There's some aspects that get changed. But for the most part, the story that came out for the first movie of The Crow with Brandon Lee was very true to the book. You know, it wasn't like Sin City where they actually put the panels up on the walls, uh, projected them on the walls, and put the characters in front of the panels on the back wall so that everything lined up just like the comic book, you know, in certain aspects. Now, not everything did, but certain points of the movie in Sin City, either version, um, lined up with the comic book page. So, oh look, he is alive, Mr. Roy Joe Twilight Bradley Jr. Good morning. We've already talked about you, buddy. You're coming on way late to the party. Did you just wake up? Are you rubbing your eyes with the sleep? We love you, Roy. You know we do. But you know that's what I hate about Hollywood is they can't leave well enough alone, and somebody doesn't have an original idea in their fucking head to create something new, create something original. No, we have to rehash. We have to try and improve on something that we liked as a kid, you know. And instead of, you know, let me come up with my own brilliant idea, let me reimagine this into a piece of shit now. I haven't seen a good reboot 100% yet. You know, and I'm not saying that I haven't. I'm just saying that most of the reboots that happen are crap. Okay. Um, I mean, I for one was not a huge fan of the reboot for A Nightmare on Elm Street. Okay. I love the actor. I can't remember what his name is right now because he did great as Rorschach in Watchmen, and he's been in several other movies. But that's his most memorable role to date was Rorschach in The Watchmen, and then he plays Freddy Krueger, the child pedophile, and I probably can't say that because I'm going to get a restriction on that word. Um, and I'll probably get a little slap on the wrist. But you know, it is one of those things that they didn't need to go that far with it. We all knew what he was in prison for, what he was in the mental institution for. Well, he was created in the mental institution. Let's put it that way, because his mother was smaped in there because she got locked in with the inmates over the weekend, and so that many people smaping her on a regular basis, day and night. And when they find her, you know, now she's knocked up by X amount of mental patients. And so that's how Freddy was conceived, according to the original story. Now, and so, yes, that messes up a person, all that good stuff, but um, they went in and redid the whole story. And they went a little bit more in detail with it all, if you will. And I love the franchise, but that one I was just like, I'm iffy on because the makeup effects weren't that great, if you will, on his burn marks and things like that. But all in all, I mean, I can see it as a good movie, you know. And all in all, had they continued the movies with it, just like they did all the other ones with Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger in there, um, getting his start on V, the TV series V. If you don't know, Visitors. If you don't know that, he was the kind alien, if you will. They're a reptilian race of aliens that came to Earth to kind of conquer it, you know. But then you had the resistance and people fighting against it and all of that good stuff. But no, there's certain things you just don't reboot. There's certain things that you just don't touch. But yet Hollywood wants to fuck it up, if you will, because I don't have a original thought in my head. I can't come up with something new and original. I have to, let's take Friends again and reboot it, or those type things. And I remember that show. It was cool. I pity the poor fool that didn't watch that show. Just like the A Team. I mean, they did a decent job with the movies on those, but nothing can touch the original A Team. It's just like I think they tried to redo MASH as well, and in modern times, and it just didn't work. Uh, I could be wrong on that as well. I'm not always right, Oh my gosh, he just admitted he's not always right, and there's no reason to be right all the time. Even though there's people that were going to argue with you that they are correct 100% of the time. Those people you just want to smack in the face and be like, yeah, you've never been punched in the face ever before in your life, have you? Guess what? That starts today. It's just like that one person that popped on here and said something about a whatever he was talking about, as I mentioned on my show earlier, that I don't even know what you're talking about, dude. I don't know what point he was trying to get across, but he was like, just your average Biden voyeur. It's just like, okay, dude, you know nothing about me. You don't know my political views. You don't know my religious stances. You don't know anything about me. Do I practice witchcraft? Do I worship the devil? Do I, those type of things? No. But you can say whatever you want to in the comments. There will be some that will be read. There will be some that won't be read, and then there will be the others that probably get filtered out. Ask Roy. He's been filtered before. Thank you for the loves. Thank you for the chilies. I appreciate it all because that does help the chilies and the galaxies and all that stuff out there helps put money into the business because I am a thriving business. I need that money, that capital, and so I appreciate that. But Roy, we will see you at noon o'clock today. You know, or before, because I'm sure you'll arrive a little early, which is fine. That is no worries there. But no, Hollywood just needs to come up with their own ideas. Be original. Quit rebooting. Quit taking stuff that was a success back in the day and trying to make it relevant to today's society. It doesn't work. I mean, I know so many people get up in arms about the old TV shows. I mean, hell, this generation would have a conniption fit and have heart attacks over Sanford and Son. You know, over what the heck was it? The Honeymooners. They would have a heart attack over the Honeymooners. There's another show. It was an old TV show, crotchety old man in his recliner, and not Al Bundy. It was much older than that. It was in the 60s or 70s. I think it was the 70s. What was his name? Roy, help me out here. I can't even think of it. Archie Bunker. Archie Bunker's place. People would have a conniption over that. All of those old shows in the 70s and early 80s, people would lose their minds over today. Yep, Archie Bunker. And it's like, go watch some of those. If you want to lose your mind, if you're of this generation of today's times, and you want to lose your mind and want that whole cancel culture to happen, you know, those were some great shows. They were funny, they were relevant to the times, and just as you said his name, I typed it out. Yeah, it just took a minute for that train to come back on track to hit the name. And um, you talk about very political or very derogatory in certain aspects. Very, and it's not raunchy stuff. It's just yeah, good times or welcome back, Cotter. Or I mean, geez, um, I mean, even Benson. People would lose their minds over that TV show of today. Or yeah, I already said Sanford and Son. And I mean, what you talking about, Willis? Let's talk about that one. People would lose their damn minds over that one. A white, well-to-do man taking in a African American family of children. Well, what was his reasonings for taking them in? No, you're fine. Because Sanford and Son was the very first one I talked about. With that whole generation of you guys wouldn't be able to handle those shows. Uh, and those were the shows we grew up on a regular basis. And thank you, TikTok, for putting that in there so I could put that little puzzle together. You guys are great. I don't know if anybody else has to deal with that or not, but I have to do it every damn show. Once I hit a certain time frame, I have to do this little puzzle slide or twist or whatever the fuck. So not only with all that, now I've got to learn how to get my license for a motorcycle. So I got to get it up and running first, but of course, but because you have to have a running bike to take the test with. But it's sitting in the driveway. It's very cool. The seat was done by was reupholstered by a marine shop. So that means it's all waterproof materials, all that good stuff. So, what's on my shirt, Roy, which we talked about already, is a female in a bowl of ramen noodle soup. It's got some chopsticks on her booty. She's got noodles going all over the place. She's got some steam coming up. She got a little noodle coming up right here as well. Looks like she has no shirt on. She has panties on, which you can see them right there. But yes, she's in a bowl of ramen soup. So, but yeah, no, those shows would have driven you guys nuts in today's society, and you definitely would have tried to get them canceled now. Which that's what I don't understand. These shows have been around for forever, and there are certain ones that people have tried to get canceled. You know, and it's just like give it up, give it a rest. We did buy a motorcycle, Mr. Roy. You'll get to see it when you're here. It's a 1978 Honda Goldwing GL 1000. Means it's got 1,000 horsepower between your thighs. So there you go. But yeah, we went and looked at it last night and picked it up. Couldn't pass up the deal. It's a super sweet looking bike. Gonna make it even super sweeter as the time goes on. We got to get it up and running first, just like we got to get hers up and running first. We got to get the right parts for it all. We almost had a gas tank for hers, but it just didn't sit right because the guy in the video was not the same guy we talked to on the phone, if that makes any sense. So it felt a little off, if you will, because not only that, we found the exact same one on eBay, the exact same picture that was sent to her, and he said, "Yeah, that's me." And you could barely understand him, but he texted a lot better than he spoke. But in the videos on his page, unless he has a spokesperson, it was not the same guy. So we were kind of feeling off about the whole situation. And then he kept pressuring her most of the night, saying, "Everything's ready on my end. I'm just waiting for your payment. I haven't seen payment come through." And he just kept going and going and going. And it was just like, dude, we told you. We're pricing out parts right now. We saw yours, or you were recommended to us, but we actually found one here locally that we're going to go look at in person, you know? And so finally he stopped texting after that point. But for for most of the night while we're trying to enjoy the motorcycle rally, he's hitting her up in text message form. So the deal off, blah blah blah. It's just like, dude, just hold your horses, dude. We're not feeling right about this. You know, we do have some other options out there. You're not the only one that's got this gas tank for her motorcycle. And so it was just feeling off because, like I said, you can understand the dude that was in the video, but the guy we talked to was very super hard to understand and not the same voice, 100%. You know, so we were just like, something's not right here, 100%. It's just not feeling good. So we pulled the plug on it, and we do have some other options, but this one is a super clean look. And then he gives us this price, but the eBay price is like $50 higher. So make that make sense. You're going to lose $50 on your sale. Something's off. 100% off with that transaction. So we didn't pull the trigger on that. And we're kind of happy that we did it. But on the same token, we do need that motorcycle tank. And we do have some lines on that motorcycle tank. But we'll get there. We'll get there. Just like I go to start looking at parts for my bike now. Again, super clean bike. I'm going to have to go through the whole rigmarole of getting a title again. 7 months in, still waiting on my truck title. It's supposed to be here this month sometime because the original owner of the truck hit me up and told me that, he's already talked to the bonded title division and that he had the original title and he was wondering how he could get it to me. And they were like, don't even worry about the original title. We've already got one ready. It'll be to him in May. It's gonna be May. Well, here it is, May. And I'm still waiting. Yeah, I know it's only 4 days in. But this started on the 6th of November of 2024. And here we are 5 months into this month of this year. And 4 days into this month. And I still don't have my damn title to my truck. Get your pieces together, Department of Motor Vehicle Division in bonded titles. Just because you guys are jackasses. Put everything that you want on your website. Do we need... Oh, I appreciate that. It's an awesome shirt. I picked it up at Spencer's. Yes, Spencer's. On one of their clearance sales. It wasn't huge. I mean, it was big. There was a lot of people walking around, milling around. Unfortunately, Roy, unless you had one of the motorized scooters, you would have had a hard time getting around people, which is unfortunate because I think you would enjoy it going down there and checking out the women and checking out the motorcycles. Some of the outfits. I mean, it's more tame than Sturgis, if you will. Saying I had an unstable connection, which I shouldn't. Everything's green on my end. But some of the outfits, yeah, we'll leave it at that. I don't need to get banned on my channel. But I get it. You're out there to attract. And some were trying a little harder than others. Some that didn't need to try. But to each their own. Everybody has that fan favorite that they, love when it comes to how they attract other human beings. Male, female. Some of the outfits were very close to my shirt. Some of the outfits should have not been like my shirt. But everybody was clothed. Yes, 100%. Yeah, no. I I digress. I digress. Um, it's just that yeah, no. It's very interesting. If you've never been to a bike rally, go to one. Be it Dixon Street in Fort Smith, be it Sturgis, be it Sturgis would be a great experience. It's just like Mardi Gras. Go experience it one time. You know, and even today's Mardi Gras or Sturgis is not the same as it was even 10 years ago. Um, so much has changed. I, for one, have yet to been to a Mardi Gras. I've seen it on cops. I've seen it on TV shows and things like that, but I have not witnessed one in person. The debauchery that used to happen in the alleyways and in front of stores and things like that, or on balconies and things like that, doesn't per se happen as much as it used to in New Orleans now. They've kind of put a cut to all that. Now you still get the flashing. That's how you get your beads and shit like that. But it's not as debaucherous as it used to be. It's more family friendly. Take your children to watch people have sex in the alleyways, those type things. No, I'm just kidding. Please don't do that. I mean, hell, you go to Vegas and they're handing out pamphlets of the adult clubs to kids, and it's just like, are you serious right now? You know how old this person is? They're 12, they're 10, and you're giving them adult flyers, those type of things in Vegas. They don't care. They're just handing that stuff out. That's their job. That's how they get paid. Here, take this. 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 Come see us tonight. Come see us tonight. Come see us this afternoon. Come see us at 3 in the morning when we're closing. Those type of things. I have yet to be in Vegas, but it is what it is. I will get there one day, and pardon me. That's the proper way to sneeze. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know the proper way to sneeze. I don't think anybody has a proper way to sneeze. Everybody sneezes different. And then you spit stuff everywhere. It's kind of disturbing. That's why. That's why they tell you to cover your sneeze, cover your cough, because this stuff goes everywhere. It just splatters. It just splatters out there. It's kind of like an alien blood splatter. It makes people react the same way. Those type things. Yeah. No, we've had a good show today. It's been fun. So, like I said, all my Antarctic Press from now on is going to be its own separate videos, its own separate entities. So that if you want to check those out, you can. And this way, I don't bore you guys that don't want to sit here through a Antarctic Press topic comic book. You don't have to. You can go check it out on my other broadcast channels, especially YouTube. I'm trying to build that channel up big time, and it's coming along. I'm getting a lot more viewership on there. I'm getting a lot more subscribers and things like that. So that's fun. That's exciting. So, but I appreciate each and every one of you being here. Go check out my channels. Go up to my Not You Guys on Facebook and YouTube, but right here on TikTok. You can go up there to my profile. You'll find my link to my website. From there, you can follow my Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and you're already here on TikTok. So please go like, follow, and subscribe to those channels. And as I like to say as I leave you guys, we will catch you on the flip side. Have a good day, everybody.